to the Scrabble Players Championship. Josh Sokol here with Will Anderson. Sorry about that delay. We have pairings. We have our esteemed matchup here on the stream board. Nigel Peltier, last year's champion, the defending champ, versus Joey Mallick, who was in first place a lot of yesterday.
Yeah, it's a great matchup. Joey Mallick, as you well know, Josh, has made it to the finals before. Definitely a player who nobody should be surprised to see right at the top of the standings. And he's going to have to go through last year's champion, as you said. Great matchup for us to cut our teeth into after a riveting game in the previous round between Joey Kravchik and Mac Meller. And that's just 2 games in. Can't wait for what's in store for us throughout the day.
Absolutely. Let's cut to the board. Some fantastic matchups. We saw Joey Mallick take down the legend Joe Edley, 3-time national champion, yesterday in, I think, the best played game we've seen on stream, where Joe Edley basically played perfectly, but Joey just outmaneuvered him, playing almost as well according to the engine and winning the game by a huge margin. So that was probably the most impressive win we've seen thus far. In terms of just skill. So Nigel Peltier going second, Joey Mallick going first. Joey's at 11-4. Nigel on a losing streak at 8-7. So he really needs this win, Will.
Keep in mind, though, that he won last year's championship despite having a 7-7 record at one point in the tournament. So, yeah, would it be nice to have more wins than 8 if you're Nigel Peltier? Of course, but he is no stranger to making huge comebacks from a somewhat of a slow start. And Nigel P as well has one of the more impressive streaks of cashing or placing in the top 10 at nationals of almost any player. He's been remarkably consistent in his career. Certainly, it's very difficult to come in the top 10 any year, but Nigel has done it 7 or 8 times in his career with very few misses in that span. So in any case, Joey, the one going first, a phenomenal player in his own right. As I mentioned, Josh, he was your opponent in the finals in 2023.
Absolutely. So look at this opening rack. A lot of junk, just an E to score with. KHET comes to mind. Heft. KEF maybe? Actually, KEF might be pretty good here, Will.
It's interesting because the
Oh, no.
remaining...
No.
Ooh, very surprising. Is Nigel... Wait, are we
No.
seeing...
Are
So,
you? No way. You're kidding me.
so
What?
this is a shock, everybody. Josh, that is not a valid word, and it doesn't look like Nigel... Maybe Nigel just saw the 4 tiles hit the board and just assumed there's no way this could be... I don't... Maybe he hasn't even looked at it yet.
Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable.
Look at that. Look at his facial expression now. Look at his facial expression. He's realized it. I'm pretty sure. If you look at Nigel's body language, I think he just realized, oh my God, I think I just let one slide.
Possibly? I'm not sure. I can't believe we just saw this. It's one thing to play a phony four. It happens once in a while, even at the top level, but it gets called out. Like it just gets challenged immediately every time. I've not seen this ever, especially not on the live stream. Wow. Okay, well, drama to start off this round 16 match between 2 of the top players in North America. Very, very unbelievable. Phony four.
Yeah, it looks like many other valid words being pointed out in the chat. KHAF and KEF are both valid. There are a slew of other words, and it should be noted that this is by far better than any other option that Joey had. But of course, risking what we fully expected would be a challenge. I know for those of you in the audience who may be more casual fans of Scrabble or may not be players in your own right, that a lot of the words that you see on these boards look a little bit out of the ordinary. They look a little bizarre. But at this level, you do expect extremely strong command of words through 4 letters in length. These are the bedrock words of competitive Scrabble. So to see a phony one be played is surprising enough, and to see it not be challenged is like a lightning strike on board one.
Yeah. So a lot of players at the top have learned all the four-letter words like 20 years ago or something. Like Joey Mallick learned all the four-letter words over 20 years ago. And sometimes one can slip through the cracks. It is possible. The top players do focus on the bingos because you really start with the shorter words. As Zhao coming down for Nigel, yeah, I really wonder if he has recognized what has just happened. This is 24 points, setting up the F very nicely. So if it weren't for the fact that KHEF is on the board, this is a very normal start to a Scrabble game. But yeah, like I said, it's the bingos that players tend to go through and study the most at the top level, and sometimes the shorter words, the bread and butter, the bedrock of Scrabble just gets lost a little bit. And KHAF, KEF, KHET, CHEF, so many times when you see a phony word get played at the top level, it is just an amalgamation, a bastard child, some would say, of many different valid words. So Zhao coming down 28 to 24. It's going to be very interesting to see whether KHEF gets hooked with an S. I don't believe Joey Mallick has any doubt whether or not this is a word. He played it confidently, just like he played
Mm.
the other turn. And there is an amazing draw for Nigel Peltier. So we will see. Antifaz is one of the words that Nigel has. We will see, depending on what Joey Mallick does, whether that will be hooked.
Really interesting to see what's going to happen there. So one of the plays that Joey can make, if I can test the telestration, is something like Mott under here. This scores decently. He's looking at playing omit. Oh, that would also go on top here. The trick for Nigel is if he's identified, and I'm betting based on his body language, I think he has realized that he inadvertently let a phony slide. He's got the S, and he won't have to play it if he has this lane to play Antifas, and he can keep this S hook alive. I think he's going to want to, if he sees it and knows that it is a trap, I think he's going to want to leave it open and hope that Joey eventually stumbles into it and it would cost him a turn. That would more than give him the payback for letting this phony remain on the board, Josh.
Yeah, and we're talking about Nigel's turn. Antifas would be 84 points with KHEFS, the phony 4, as Mott comes down. I think that's Joey's best play. Fantasy also plays to the E with the blank T for 80 points. So because of how heavy KHEF is in terms of score, Antifa scores better than hitting the triple. Let's see. Wow, here we see it. So Antifa's getting played. Has Joey Mallick noticed that he's made a mistake? We will find out very, very soon. He's staring intently at this play, but it looks like he's going to accept. And there it goes. All right. It might as well be valid. No hold for Joey Mallick. Might as well be a word, Will. Stop
Wow.
talking about it.
Yeah, that is crazy. So clearly, it has not been ringing any alarm bells for either player, especially with so many other options for Nigel P available there. He must have full confidence that if Joey's playing it and it looks like all these other valid words, that it must be valid. So missed opportunity potentially by both players there. But as you say, Josh, we move on now with the rest of the game. Still a big deal. And we are going to see indictee very nicely spotted. Only bingo for Joey here.
Think about it, right? Like maybe Joey does recognize that this might not be a word, but it gave him a bingo. So he basically has to accept it if he has any doubts on KHEF, unless he's 100% sure it's not a word. You let it go and you play your bingo. This is crazy stuff, Will. So indictee, very nice find through the blank T of Antifas. Another good draw for Joey Mallick. An S and an S for Nigel Peltier. Both players with a U to try and deal with. Unmew is the first word that comes to mind for Nigel Peltier. Nothing, nowhere to play that very nicely. But upstager, oh my gosh, Will. Wow.
Unbelievable redraw for Joey. He sees upstager quickly. It would play in a dangerous spot right here, but you will take this gladly if you're Joey Mallick to be able to bingo with the U, the G, the P, not lucrative tiles on the rack outside of that nice ERST combo. You're going to take that bingo every day of the week. But for Nigel, what could he do here? Is he
No
looking
way.
at playing something like Joram right here?
There's
And
no way he's
maybe
blocking.
he's never blocking it, Josh, but is he going to keep an S and a huge play to come back? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, right now, 20 points between Nigel Peltier, the defending champion, and Joey Mallick. Joram is 28. Nigel would take a small lead. Upstager in the 60s, but the responses could be in the 50s, could even be a bingo after something like Joram. Will we see Joram? He's lining it up now. That's a great play. I was thinking maybe MEWS underneath Mott, but that sets up an S hook you don't have. So I don't know if it's great. It's a very, very high score, 40 points. But Joram looks actually better here.
Yeah, you keep that S in reserve, which is not incredibly valuable here, but it is certainly always a tile you want to keep if you can score decently well and do so. Joram also setting up a new S hook. So, what you don't have on the post Joram board is a spot to play a bingo with a terminal S in a really good spot. What you do have are a number of S hooks. If you just imagine Joram on the board, you've now got the S hook here, here, here. There's a whole bunch of spots where if you do draw something with S in early position, you're going to be in very good shape. So there's a lot of upside after that play. The S has kind of a weird value here. You love to see that terminal position for playing 7-letter bingos. You don't have that. You do have a lot of other options for it.
I guess there's a world, Will, in which Murine gets played through the eye of Indictee to keep the WS for that underlap spot. I don't think it's right, but it's a nice way to set yourself up nicely for next turn. So there's a remote possibility Upstager's getting blocked, but if not, Joey Mallick is playing that within 5 seconds. No hesitation whatsoever. He is a very confident, very intimidating player. When he knows what he wants to play, it just comes down, and you just have to be like, okay, there you go. Sometimes Joey Mallick makes his best play within 5 seconds, 12 turns in a row. He's barely used 5 minutes of his time. We see that he plays a lot of blitz with Mac Meller. He sees his plays fast. He's confident. Nigel, a little bit more deliberate. Now he's looking at Muse, which is, again, a very nice score underlapping the MOT of Mott. But RUN, not a great leave. And setting up that S, there are 2 S's left.
And the L,
And
Josh.
the L.
The
Yeah.
L. So not only with this square right
Yeah.
here, as I clear all this off, okay, he's gone back to Joram. So he thought about all of his realistic options here. And as you suggest, watch Joey put Upstager down with speed and confidence here. Maybe he'll take a quick look through the newly opened U and M and just say, could I possibly have something better there? No, let's send Upstager quickly. Here it comes. Big swing here. Will Nigel draw something good for the S, or will he just draw something with his W that scores really well? Ooh, tricky draw. I'm not sure. I guess he has used Josh spelled out, but would have been great for him to be able to use that spot on the top row without cashing the S. Not sure he can do it.
Great. Yeah, it would be great to use the spot with something else than use, but use itself is 53 points on the top of the ER, just tying the game back up there. So we'll see Upstager added to Joey Mallick's score. 63 points brings him to 191, but use would basically tie the game. Leaving LNR, Nigel is in a worse position. He's going to need some fouls after that play. I don't really see him getting away from that play. Is there some other way to hook onto upstagers, get the Y on the triple letter score? I don't see it.
Yeah, if you could play a 5-letter word with SY with this pattern, which seems very reasonable with the tiles that Nigel has, that would potentially score enough points to be well worth it, turning an extra tile to try to draw more vowels. But I think the best he can do in that spot is Slyer, which is still reasonable, but that only scores 44 compared to the 53 pointed out after use on the top row. But meanwhile, Joey has drawn the Q, doesn't want to see that, but the second blank, a huge draw for him as he looks to protect this lead.
Yeah, Nigel looking at Sly instead, opening a not as easy to use triple. Newsy with Jorums, I guess, is what he's looking at now, but I feel like you can't do that. It does open another huge triple. It's a dynamic move. We know Nigel likes to play dynamic Scrabble, but I feel like you just take YEWS. I just wonder, Will, it was lined up on his rack. Sometimes it happens when a word is lined up on your rack, you haven't actually looked at that particular word, it's just lined up. Our brains immediately try to unscramble letters. Is it possible that Nigel Peltier has not spotted that he has YEWS up top?
It certainly can happen when you just lock into a certain type of play. I think it's very natural to have, and I think the word we always use for that is just tunnel vision. You just tunnel on a certain type of idea and you assume that that type of play has to be the best play. I do feel like I saw him line up use, and he does it again. And I
Okay.
think it's just too many points to pass up. But you're right that sometimes the most surprising plays can be missed. It is that consistency at the top level of, can you turn those plays where maybe, an intermediate player would see 99 times out of 100. Can you turn that into 999 times out of 1,000, or even less frequent? Um, these are, it's hard to go to 100% that you're never going to miss even the most simple plays.
So use coming down, this blocks Joey's best play of weld or even wend in the top right, and it's going to make his life a little bit harder. I'm sure Joey would have been pouncing on that spot otherwise, but this is a huge score, bringing Nigel Peltier to 189, but there's a 8-minute difference on the players' clocks here. And now Joey, with his rack of DELNQW blank, really only has one spot for the Q, right, Will? QI for 11? I don't feel like you can play that.
It's interesting because your leftover letters are pretty good, but I don't necessarily feel like, I guess you can look at it as, if I get an I after playing the Q, I'll have swindle, which is pretty good. There are other things that you can possibly draw, but the board is not so good or so open that I would feel that comfortable just plopping the Q down here. I think it's very, well worth considering what options does Joey have that keep the queue and score a little bit better. And I guess my question there, Josh, is does he even have anything of that type of play that's that good? And if not, maybe you just go back to plopping the queue down.
Yeah, nothing is good here. So Joey taking his first think of the game. Normally, in a situation that Joey was in, you think about your plan B. Your plan A is, of course, play in the top right, but Nigel has blocked that. So what is your plan B? Is it playing the Q? Maybe he thought about that and he was like, wow, I could do this, but what if he has an S? And the play of U's actually kind of signals a potential of having another S, but there's only one S left. So I feel like after that S is played, you just maybe just plop the Q down and hope to draw an I or something. Swindle will fit down, swindled, all sorts of plays on the top right will fit. And that's about it. Like you need to draw a vowel. If you don't draw a vowel, then you're in trouble if you're Joey.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like he's spotted the idea that if he's not going to play his cue, playing something like weld or lewd in this spot underneath the eye of indictee is about as good as he can get, with about 22 points there, leaving the Q along with his N and blank. Maybe he draws one of the two U's, which normally you would not want to see the U find its way onto the rack, but keeping the Q has that very sneaky, subordinate benefit. It's not usually that good to keep the Q, but at least it turns a bad draw in the U into something good, helps you hedge against some of those worst case scenario draws of like UU from the bag. He's going to go with Weld. I think it makes some sense here. It was either that or plop the Q down. And he's got a decent amount of help for it there, Josh.
Yeah, this is a very reasonable choice. Weld in a different spot. Of course, he would have liked to play that for around 50. Instead, he is getting 22 for it. And the U and Joram actually a little bit of a help. When you have the Q with the blank, you might just draw an 8-letter word. There's a U on the board. But Joey's drawn into a host of Q without U words: Kadi, Sank, QI. So he's going to be feeling okay about that draw. But Nigel, his draw on the other hand, he did draw a couple vowels, but he also drew a couple of duplicates. Very, very poor draw for him.
Yeah, brutal, classic, tough draw of all low pointers, but this is a great, great find on his part of Aaron. Look at those overlaps, Josh. ICAT, row, neither of those are the easiest hooks to spot. And it doesn't score a number of points that's going to make you jump for joy, but the ability to get in the mid 20s with those low pointers and remove all of your duplicate issues on the rack in one go. That's a very nice play by Nigel Peltier.
Yeah, and he has some chances to draw into a bingo starting that S on the top right of the board. That's a big spot. Okay, he's drawn 2 vowels with 2 E's, so he's got a better situation now. Over to Joey. Kaid looks perfectly fine making did on the top left. But we did see Joey. Okay, well, too late for that thought.
No delay, yeah.
Umiak was 50 points through the M of Joram, a really tough find, but burning the blank. We did see him burn the blank against Joe Edley. But yeah, Kaid makes perfect sense. Keeping the CN blank. Again, that S in the top right, such a huge spot for both players. Somebody's probably going to draw bingo up there at some point, unless it gets blocked.
Yeah, I do want to point out that there is this wide open triple line at the top of the board, which has not been touched at all. And I just want to point out if anyone out there in the chat is looking at that and saying, geez, how is that possible? Doesn't that look like such an appetizing spot? The U makes it very, very difficult to reparallel. There's not that many consonants that fit above the U productively, and a lot of those are already on the board, the M potentially being the worst of those in this game. So seeing a play actually fit on top there is not that likely, and it's kind of a phantom threat here. I agree with you, Josh. This S is considerably more concerning. You mentioned it in a previous game yesterday. The S, of course, we know it likes to end 7 and 8-letter words, but it also is the most frequent starting letter of 8-letter words. So if you're trying to protect a lead, as Joey Mallick is, that's the last letter that you want to see up in that upper right corner of the board with a free row, or a free column, I should say, to shoot at.
Yeah, that is definitely a phantom spot. Really hard to hit. It might get hit at some point. Probably not super hard. Look at the play that Nigel is considering. THER, either from the I and Antifas, would actually shut down that S. Either is an adjective, or it is the same as either. So it does not pluralize. And that would have been, if he makes that play, it's 25 points. I would play that pretty confidently if I was up 35, but Nigel's down 35, and he's kind of close to getting something from the S and U's. So I feel like maybe he's going to pivot away. He's going back to it. He has the H for HM on the bottom left of the board, but any play there is going to open a huge triple. So he's just choosing a more defensive route, just saying, I don't really mind blocking this huge threat now and just closing in on you score-wise. Very interesting decision. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a patient play on the part of Nigel. We're just talking about how lucrative that S in the upper right corner may be, but Nigel is only down 10 after this play. He doesn't have to basically sit and pray that he be the first to hit that S. He can play a little defense and mix that into his plan here. And this is the sort of play where even though you're trailing by a little bit, maybe a play like Ither blocks those bingos from the S just long enough to give you a chance to land something somewhere else on the board. Josh, I heard you react though to Nigel's draw.
That's so bizarre. So many vowels left, and he hasn't seen a single one on his four-tile pull. It can happen. From Joey Mallick's perspective, 19 vowels, 18 consonants, and he also only has one vowel. So both players in good position in terms of that fact. If I have a lot of consonants and I'm looking at a lot of vowels, I'm very happy. That means my opponent is super likely to have a lot of vowels. But in this particular instance, neither player has vowels. Comb is what Joey Mallick is considering through the M in Joram. That's just a nice way to score 20 and keep DNR blank, which again, with a lot of vowels to come, is pretty good. And Joey can feel pretty confident in this position, having the final blank. There's only one S unseen. That S and U's has been blocked. I'm sure Joey's actually kind of happy about that, given that he has a slight lead here. And yeah, I like the play of Comb here.
I'm agreeing with that. I mean, there's some other options that don't quite score as well or leave slightly worse. The one thing you want to do if you're Joey here is try to use that B. It is the weakest bingo tile on the rack. Comb looks perfectly reasonable here. It's the play he's going to go with. And even as we see that huge vowel imbalance in the tile bag, it's worse than it in reality than it is from the player's perspective. Because as you said, Josh, we know both players have so many consonants on the rack. It means the bag is inordinately full of vowels. So we're going to see that come into play in the next few turns.
And for this rack, Nigel Peltier under the 10-minute mark. We had a very similar situation. Mac in the right-hand seat under 10 minutes against Joey Krafchick with 35 tiles unseen, now 34. That means 27 in the bag. That means a third of the game and the most complicated part of the game, the pre-end game, still to be had. So Nigel needs to act. He made a couple of quick decisions. Use was a little bit of a slower decision, but he made the quick decision to play Airn. That was a nice play. And now he's considering, well, I'm in a bad spot. I have a bad rack. Should I play Bell and Combe? Combe. That is a word. When you're in a position like this, you start to get a little bit ready to make plays like Bell. I mean, it's the only way to score reasonably with the rack, but it keeps two ends of G, throws open a huge triple. Joey Mallick has found maybe his only bingo in the position of Euroland, and I don't think that's going away. But we'll see what Nigel Peltier does here with so many vowels unseen from his perspective. I think you actually play Bell and just recognize the fact that your position is really bad now. He's
That would be
looking at
so.
exchanging.
Yeah, it looks like exchanging now on his radar, which is also defensible just because Bell is just so crazy to on this otherwise quite cagey board after a bunch of plays that are very, neither player wants to, break the tension here. Nigel playing Ither to block a little bit of the board. Joey playing Comb to balance his rack without opening anything new. Bell in this spot with Comb, the E-hook would be a total departure from that strategy. And it looks like Nigel's going back to it. I'm so curious to see what's going to happen after this because this L, if Bell is played, doesn't really give Joey anything new. Is it possible that if he wants to bingo, he'll be forced to do so still with a play like Euroland? And could we see Nigel draw something huge through this L that he's created? This is really exciting to see what's going to happen from here.
Yeah, Nigel Peltier, such a dynamic player, going from defense to offense, recognizing the subtleties of the position. I'm pretty sure Nigel knows Ither doesn't take an S. I wonder if that's going to come into play with one S remaining, but Euroland is still, I think, Joey Mallick's only bingo, 60 points. If he doesn't want to bingo, he can play Dan up top on the left, making NU for 29, keeping the lone blank. Is that in the cards in this position? I feel like you take 60 and try to run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, at this score, You really want those points, right? Deferring too many points here could be your undoing, and you're
Okay.
only up by 11. So Euroland is the play, but look at Nigel's draw. Where
What
are the
the
vowels,
hell is
Josh?
going
Where?
on? What is going on? Nigel going to respond with Zune for 66, a higher score than Euroland, keeping 4 consonants. Is Joey going to draw 7 vowels? There's an X out, there's an S out. Where are those vowels? Joey Mallick needs a couple consonants to remain in control of this game. And there's a T, and there's 4 vowels, and there's
Oh,
very quickly 6 vowel draw for Joey Mallick, and S is still out there. We're going to see Joey Mallick play through that Elif Bell. He's still in a decent position. He's probably going to play something like Outlie, but that's only 21 points, and he's only up 5. This could be really, really huge. What is Nigel Peltier going to pick?
that S looming so large with the Eurolands hook. The X is something he wants to see. And the R, the vowels are just not coming for him. I'm sure he's shocked to see the consonant overload that he's drawn, Josh. So many vowels unseen to him. Almost all of them on Joey's rack outlie, as you suggested. But man, Joey can't be feeling great knowing there's another S that could easily be on Nigel's rack along with the X. This doesn't score that well. Nigel, with a balanced draw, could be poised to take a big lead here, but not with those consonants that have flooded his rack.
Now, if you're Nigel, I think you just have to play Vax through the A of Euroland for 29, take a 3-point lead. But there's the S, the only consonant Joey drew, the most important one. So he's back in a decent situation. From Nigel's perspective, 3 consonants remain, a Y and 11 vowels. And actually, 2 of those consonants are still in the bag. Nigel Peltier going to play Vax. What if he draws VG? That would be insane. So Joey Mallick, up 26 now with 8 in the bag, has got to be feeling like, where the hell are those consonants? And Nigel in a complete opposite situation. So I think Vax is just forced. What else do you do here, Will?
I think that's it. There's really no way to score anything without using your X in this spot with the consonant of your choice. The V is a critical tile for Nigel to use because one of the few consonants still unseen to him is another V, and you really do not want to have to navigate 2 Vs on the rack, whatever little chance you may have. And frankly, it's interesting because with all those vowels, Nigel has a pretty good chance of drawing a bingo here. If he draws 2 vowels, there's all kinds of stuff that he can get. He can play parting, he can play trepang. There's lots of things that he can actually hit with 2 vowel draws that are so likely for him. So Vax, almost certainly the play, and hoping against hope that Joey does not have that last S, which would allow him to block the bottom of the board as it flips on me. But what can Joey even do with that S? It's not that easy to use, and he's going to keep all vowels if he plays it.
Okay, good decision by Nigel. He's under 5 minutes, Will, so he needs to go. And there's the G. What the freak is happening? That is not a good draw for Nigel. But it also means Joey only has a V and a Y to draw out of the bag. So what does he do here? There are 6 tiles unseen to him. He's in great position with the only hook remaining for Euroland. But a play I'm seeing immediately is just OE on the top of the board for 16 points. You can play Vo from the V and Vax for 4 more, but why block your S spot? So I think that's a good play. If you want to play your S now, you're only getting 20 plus for it. That's not enough. I think OE or maybe a longer play, trying to play 3 vowels at once is what Joey wants to do. So he's in a good position, but it has to feel a little bit worrisome that that bottom row is open. So maybe he will play his S. Maybe he will go with something like OSE and Eurolands in order to block the threats on the bottom row. I think in either case, Joey can feel pretty confident about his position despite being down 3 points, but there's a lot of scoring power left. So maybe not.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, there's definitely now a few things that you have to be worried about if you're Joey, like Genoa on the top part of the board would hit really, really hard. He's going to just play Odia. Wow, that's
Go back.
surprising. An extremely low score compared to some of these other options, but it keeps that S and and three more vowels. What is going on here?
Wow. V, Y, and the last A are what are unseen to Nigel Peltier, so he could potentially draw into Trepang if he drops the G, but that's not happening. I think he has to go for a score here and hope the S is in the bag. Odia looks like a play kind of trying to block Eurolands, so maybe Nigel thinking maybe the S is still out there. He's only down 9 points, and if he plays Pager, which was the first play he was looking at, now he's looking at something else. If he does that, now he's looking at Gauger. Um, he might actually win this game, Will.
That is crazy just because almost any lone consonant for Joey would almost certainly have been enough to get a Eurolands play that would have been very tough for Nigel to outrun in the end game, especially if he's going to play 4 tiles here with Gauger or Pager through this A. Nigel is going to have 6 tiles on his rack in the end game, which makes it very unlikely that he's going to have an outplay. That would allow Joey to have a 2-turn sequence of a Eurolands play and then an outplay after that. Instead, it's going to be extremely difficult for Joey to go out in 2 with all the vowels that he has. And it should be a much more flexible and high scoring set of tiles on Nigel's rack after this play. So, man, this is a crazy run out here for both players. But as is sometimes the case, Josh, if you have to pick between vowels and consonants to have too many, often having those consonants is better just because they score a little bit better. The vowels can not only clog up the rack, but also reduce your scoring potential. So we may be seeing that play out here.
But Nigel has to move. He's at 2.5 minutes. He cannot afford to go overtime in such a close game. He's looking at Gaper, Gauger, Pager. He's got to make one of those plays very soon and try to just outrun Joey in the end game, which he has good chances of doing unless he goes overtime. This game could be within 10 points. You can't afford a -10 time penalty if you're Nigel Peltier. So let's see when he makes his decision. 2 minutes, you have the chance when you have under 1 minute, but more than 30 seconds to make an out sequence, to make one more move, even 2 more moves, as long as your opponent is thinking. But Joey Mallick has been playing lightning fast all game. The time pressure is there. Let's see. What does Nigel Peltier do here? He's probably feeling okay, but not great. If Eurolands gets hit with something like IVs and OE, I think the door is shut. Little does he know Joey Mallick has that S, but the V and the Y are in the bag. So Nigel Peltier about to draw AVY if he plays all 4 tiles. Right now, he's thinking, okay, maybe not. Maybe I play 2 tiles, but you have to go. You have to score, and you have to do it now.
Yeah, got to get something down quick to be able to evaluate this end game. He's clearly thinking hard about different options through this A. Playing the P now scores 3 more points than Gauger. You get 24 points for Pager, 21 points for Gauger, but there is kind of a decent spot for this P. If you're trying to, play something like this and keep it, maybe there's a way to draw into something. I'm actually not sure you can even do that if you play Gauger because you're really looking at Gorp in that spot with an O draw. So lots to consider here. The flexibility of keeping the P versus playing it. But Nigel, as you say, Josh, he's got to go. He's got to put something on the board.
Hesitating.
Gauger.
He's got 30 seconds. There we go. 29 seconds left for the rest of this game. Is Joey Mallick going to assess that his best chance of winning here is to play fast? If he plays OES and Eurolands, is he going to have enough? He's playing Louis
Brilliant.
instantaneously.
Brilliant play. Saving AIS. This is the only way he can use those vowels, Josh. Playing it first might be what he has to do here.
He's already worked it out. And now Nigel Peltier has 15 seconds. He has to block Eurolands. I think he knows that. But how do you block it? He's looking at PYA. You can play pave to the E. 6 seconds left. Go, go, go. You have to go. Your time is out. 23 points for Paya. What is going on? Is Nigel Peltier going to outrun? He has 12 points on his rack, but Joey Mallick with AIS is going to go out with airs and its and MI, and I think that will be it. I think this game has been won by Joey Mallick.
Yeah, I think by my count, he's going to win by something like 10 points, 8 points, something like that. Brilliant job by Joey to not cash his S right here and leave the threat of it as something Nigel has to deal with so that he cannot play anywhere else. He cannot play his V, which he would have wanted to do along with the P. Louis, the only way of dumping all those vowels in one go. The fact that Joey saw that and played it instantly to put maximum pressure on Nigel Peltier is a masterclass. He's probably already had that worked out in a lot of cases in that pre-end game situation. Very, very nicely done.
Was there a way for Nigel Peltier to win? He didn't know. He didn't have the chance to figure it out. PATY was better in that spot, and that would have gained him around 5 more points, but I don't think it would have been enough. I think the time didn't necessarily matter here, but it could very well have. What a brilliant play of Louis. And Nigel, I think, recognizing the fact that he missed Patey. Yeah, he's showing us. There's the emotion. There's the oof. You got to feel for him. Wow.
So that would have been Patey would have been 26 points in that spot. So an extra 3 points for Nigel. Imagine that instead of this score, he is up by 27. Then Joey would go out still with the same 18-point play, and he would not collect the points for this T, but he would collect 10 more points from the unplayed V and N, winning by 1 point. So it does not look like Nigel had a win. In the heat of the moment, he probably can't know that. We're sitting in the booth and we can do the math out all cool and collected. We're not the ones with 2 seconds left on the clock.
Unbelievable. So would that have happened? Would it have been a 1-point win? It seems like Gager is a losing play for Nigel Peltier. Was Gaper any better? I don't actually think so. I think he was losing regardless, but he just didn't have time to figure it out. Joey Mallick now tracking. Has he just not tracked the whole game? And now he has to figure out, what does Nigel have? Does he have enough points to give me? That is crazy. Joey might be thinking Nigel has 3 1-point tiles, in which case Ayers would tie the game at 394 apiece, and he would have to find a better play to win the game, and he has 10 minutes to do so. This is insane. Joey Mallick just saying, I am going to play as fast as possible. I don't care about my tracking. I don't care about anything else other than putting the time pressure on you. And now he has all the time in the world to figure out Nigel has VNT. Let him ruminate, marinate in his very, very, oh man, I'm really feeling for Nigel. You can see the emotion on his face. But yeah, he knows the game is lost, and he thinks that AD was a winning play, but it wasn't.
Right, which will be comforting in a sense. But I am so curious to hear the post-game discussion from the 2 players on this. It's so interesting that Joey's tracking again now and not before his play of Louis. That being said, in that situation for Joey Mallick, playing Louis almost certainly has to be correct no matter what Nigel has. It's the only way, as I mentioned, to dump all those vowels at once and keep that tension with your S. So really amazing time management by Joey Mallick there. Nigel doing an amazing job as well to continue to fight his way back. His play of Bell was a brilliant bit of aggression at exactly the right time. Crazy draws here for both players, with the consonants somehow flooding their way onto Nigel's rack despite that imbalance. Joey making his winning move here of airs to, wow, an instant classic. Josh, nice job.
400 to 394. Let's pan to the overhead mic and see what scores the players have.
I was only seeing AIS there for 12 once you blocked that, and
I suppose the the only play I saw in hindsight that I liked so much better. I didn't see this, but I think I lose by 1. Because that just gives me 3 more points.
I was hoping maybe I could force you into it. I'm almost positive that was the best play, so I figured I'd maybe be able to get you into overtime.
Well, you did.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had a play that would withstand that.
Yeah. And I had the yes for a couple of turns, but I had nothing but vowels with them.
It's amazing that you were able to pull that out.
Which is almost a good thing because that meant you didn't have them.
One consonant.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
If I had just anything big there, it probably.
The VY draw at the end sort of stunned me, because I was hoping for vowels the whole time. I was sort of expecting vowels by the end. Yeah.
I remember this used to be phony, and I'm pretty sure they added it later on.
Yeah, I liked it.
Because it was. I think Brian Capoletto tried it and got challenged off by Nigel Richards at his first nationals. So
I didn't know
I have all these weird references for certain bingos.
Cool. Oh, this felt weird.
Yeah.
NNG.
What's that? With Bell?
Yeah, I left NNG.
Oh.
It's just kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
I was going to trade in.
I assume I didn't have anything through the L. Anything else? Any feedback or anything?
I got nothing. That was a tough game.
Did you have an outplay if he didn't go out and just stuck an S on you or that?
Well, I had AIS here too.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't able to come. I ran out of time too early, but the play I wanted to do is pay T. If I thought about it longer, it's just way better. It has an outplay, and it scores more.
Yeah.
And that would make it so that this still wins by 1, though, I believe.
And you were double checking your tracking at the end, I take it?
Yeah, I just making sure he had I thought there was a V still missing, and I wanted to make sure it was enough. Yeah. But if I'd seen this right away, I probably would have played wow.
He did so well with all vowels.
Yeah.
It's like navigating situations with literally all vowels. Come on.
Yeah,
That was just funny. It was interesting how it played out.
Yeah.
I did have consonants for, basically, since Antifa. Yeah, I think I drew 7 vowels since Antifa.
So Nigel Peltier
7.
at 8-8. Such a similar situation to last year and many previous years where Nigel does not start off super well, but ends up winning tons of games near the end. And this one, like you said, Will, an instant classic, starting off with a phony 4. That feels like lifetimes ago. So much happened after that, and could have been a 1-point win for Joey Mallick, but indeed it was a 6-point win in the end. Crazy game. Wow.
Yeah, really exciting one to watch. That was a real pleasure. And it's a huge one for Joey Mallick as he continues to solidify his position at the top of the standings. As you said, Nigel P dropping to 8-8. We mentioned he was 7-7 at one point last year and rebounded from that to make the finals and defeat Mac Meller to capture the championship and is still the defending champion. So do not count him out just yet. But just a riveting game in just our second game of the day, Josh. 5 more coming up today. I can't wait to see what those other games have in store.
Yeah, 2 games left before lunch. We're going to take a little bit of a production break here before the round, get the next pairing for you very, very quickly. And we'll see you in just a few minutes with another crazy